The reason you're having trouble with your finances is because you're not thinking big enough. What's up, everyone? It's Christina J, here to empower you. And today I'm empowering you to be a good steward by changing how you think about money so it'll change how you use your money. But y'all know how we like to get down on this side of the internet. Make sure you hit that subscribe button for more empowering content and to be a part of our amazing family. You still ain't subscribed yet. What you doing? Okay, you did it? Perfect. Now we can get into it. God is the master and we are stewards. Everything we have was created by him and for him, including our money. As a steward, God has placed you in charge of the money that he has given to you. That means how you manage your money matters. In the Bible, it talks about how whoever is faithful in little will also be faithful with much. So how you handle your money now shows God or proves to him that you're capable of handling more, depending on how you handle your money now. So if you're going to steward it like nobody's business, I'm going to have to get in your business. Sorry. Wealth gained hastily will dwindle, but whoever gathers little by little will increase it. I want you to think of money as a tool. Just like a hammer in the hands of a skilled builder is a tool that is used to build a house, money is also a tool when used intentionally. It can also be utilized to build something that lasts. Money isn't the dream, it's what helps you build the dream. Money gives you chances, opportunities, options, and freedom when it is used wisely and intentionally. When you think about building a house, you don't just go outside and say, okay, boom, here's my house. No. All houses start first with a blueprint, how the house is going to look. What's the layout of the house going to be? Is it going to be a 3-bedroom, a 4-bedroom, 1-story, 2-story? Is it going to have a basement, no basement? It all starts with a vision. Then once you have the vision, you start building a firm foundation. And we all know that a firm foundation is critical in the house building process. The foundation when it comes to money are your financial habits. After the foundation is built, then daily the builders come to build the house brick by brick, little by little, through discipline to follow through with those habits. When you follow through with those habits, eventually it leads you in the direction so that the vision can be fulfilled. And the same principles can be applied when it comes to your money. When it comes to money and building your wealth portfolio, the biggest hack in the entire game is to simply stay consistent, as is the hack with many other things in life. Consistently saving, consistently investing is what helps turn those small habits into big blessings. You'll see that once you get really good at doing the boring things, such as saving each month, investing each month, paying your debt down each month, little by little, your financial life starts to compound based on the habits that you have followed through with for the past months on end. One of the first financial books I read was I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Richmindset, I think is how you say his name. But he was basically talking about how we've got to stop seeing money as something to just spend and start seeing it as something that creates freedom. As a man thinketh, so is he. If you think like a consumer, you'll continue to spend like one, even if you're making more money than you are right now. But if you think like a kingdom steward, you'll use money to build something that lasts. Money doesn't change you. It reveals what's inside of you. Many believe that if they make more money, that their financial problems will disappear. But that's not necessarily true. Because if you have bad financial habits when you're making $100 a month, then you'll carry on those same bad financial habits when you're making $100K a year. Therefore, having a firm foundation, good financial habits, starting early with those habits is what's going to help you be a great steward when God does bless you with more. The main reason why we impulse spend or engage in overconsumption is because we don't have a plan for our money. We end up spending it because we're bored, spending it because we see our friends spending it, or spending it just for no reason because we never set out a plan for what we wanted to do with our money. The end of the month comes around and you're like, dang, where did all my money go? Remember, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So let's get into some finance tips to help you be a steward like nobody's business. The first finance tip is you have to have a vision for your money. Your vision is what's going to help you and keep you on track, accountable, and want to stay consistent in your financial habits. And we already talked about the importance of consistency earlier. In this step, I want you to ask yourself, what are you trying to build with your money? Why do you want money? Why do you have money? What is the point of having said money? What do you want to use it for? And I want you to think outside of, oh, I need money to pay bills, or, oh, I need money because I want to buy really nice clothes and I want to look nice. Those are great things, but I challenge you to think bigger. Think bigger. Because God's purpose for you is greater than just paying your bills. So if that's all you got, you're not thinking big enough. Go back to the drawing board and think big. Okay, think big. What are people that you want to impact with your money? How do you want God to use your pockets to be a blessing to other people? What are things in the world that you would like to contribute to? Maybe it's cancer research. Maybe it's supporting a housing community for the homeless. These are the things. This is the level I want you to be on when you start thinking. Okay. Once you have your vision, I want you to track your spending for the next month. Every single expense that you make, it needs to be tracked. Whether you go to the Dollar Tree, whether you go to McDonald's, whether you buy a MacBook Pro, track every single expense. This is going to be important because tracking your spending for a month is basically going to be a litmus test for where you are currently, how your spending habits look currently. So tracking your spending is where you are currently. The vision for your money from step 1 is where you're trying to be with your finances. And then your budget or conscious spending plan, which we're about to talk about, is going to be what bridges the gap between the two so that you can adjust your spending habits and spending accordingly to push you closer to your vision. This video is not sponsored yet. We're going to get there. But I will include the budget tracker that I use every month to track my spending if you want to use that. I'll link it below. But there's also apps you can use too. Like there's Rocket Money. If I think of any others, I'll insert them. Proverbs 21:5 says, "The plans of the diligent lead to profit, as surely as haste leads to poverty." You need a budget or a conscious spending plan. And I know. We hate the word budgeting because we correlate that to restriction. Budgeting is not you restricting your money. It's just you telling your money where to go. So it pushes you in the direction towards the vision that you have for your money in the future. So when you create your budget, I want you to look at your expenses from the past month in mind, but also keeping your vision at the forefront as well. So maybe when you look at tracking your spending, you spent a lot of things on some miscellaneous stuff that really didn't matter. So now you can use that money towards saving or investing, something that leads you towards your vision. A big part of being a good steward is knowing the condition of your assets. A budget is a good auditor because you're able to compare what you're spending in comparison to what you had planned to spend with the budget you created at the beginning of the month. When you do your budget, ideally, most financial professionals recommend that your budget aligns with your needs being 50% of your income, your wants being 30% of your income, and then saving, investing, or paying down debt is within 10%. Of course, if you see that your wants are higher than your needs, obviously prioritize your needs. And then say you are a very simple woman or man, then you can always make your wants lower so that you can save and invest or pay down your debt more. It really just kind of depends where you are, how much money you're making. And also realize that when you create your budget is going to align with your priorities, with the vision that you talked about earlier. So that means that your spending habits may not look like your friends who are also in the same age range as you. And that's okay. In our 20s, we are all in different areas of life. Some people want to prioritize home ownership. Other people want to prioritize travel. Other people want to prioritize saving and investing. So whatever it is you want to prioritize, you basically want to create your budget or using your money in a way that aligns with your priorities that you have. The goal is to create a budget where you are spending lavishly on what you love, mercilessly on what you don't, when it comes to your spending. Brief intervention, girls. Future editing Christina J coming at you. Basically, I want you to ask yourself, what does your rich life look like? Your rich life isn't about being rich by someone else's standards. It's about designing a life that feels full, free, and true to you. So, for example, let's say you're in your 20s and you don't really care about clubbing no more. You don't want new clothes every week or Starbucks every morning, but you do care about traveling, skincare, or upgrading your laptop for your side hustle. Okay, cool. Then that's where your money should go. The goal isn't to feel deprived, but it's to spend with intention. Ramit Sethi in his book is basically telling us to give yourself full permission to go out on what matters to you, but don't waste your coins trying to keep up with trends or people you don't even like. That's the difference between living a rich life that is rich to you versus just looking expensive to everybody else. Okay, back to the regularly scheduled program. And I think when you budget, is really, really, really important that you know the difference between a need and a want. This is where you're going to have to be really honest with yourself and ask yourself, do you really need this, or is this a want? In today's society, typically, if you're not close to or reliable public transportation, most people need a car to get to work, so that's fine. You may need a car, but you don't need a Bugatti. You don't need a Rolls Royce. You don't need a 2025 Nissan Altima. You just need a reliable piece of transportation that's going to get you from point A to point B. You may need sneakers, and that's fine, but you don't need the hottest new Air Jordans that just dropped yesterday. So once you create your budget, then you're going to do the same thing that you did in step 2. You're going to continue to track every single expense that you made, trying to keep within the budgeting guidelines that you have set for yourself. And then each month, you're going to look at how much you spent versus how much you plan to spend, and then adjust accordingly if you see that you were higher in another category. So for example, if at the end of the month you realize that you spent a lot of money on fast food, ask yourself, was this a discipline issue? Or do I need to plan to put more money towards that? Or do I simply need to cook more at home so I can stay within my fast food budget? Those are the things that you want to ask yourself before you adjust your categories and increasing your money there. Because remember, if you increase your money in this category, then you're going to have to decrease it somewhere else. And remember, you want to keep your vision and your goal in mind. So do your best to not try to sacrifice those goals for wants when it could just be a discipline issue. Just like you work hard for your money, you need to make sure your money is working overtime for you. Making your money moves means putting your money into vehicles that'll help you make more money in the future. This is where your 401ks come in, your Roth IRAs, the high yield savings accounts. All of these are vehicles that help you make money without really doing anything besides staying consistent and making sure you're contributing money to them every so often. With this being a beginner's video, I'm not going to get into the investing vehicles. I simply want you to start with an emergency fund. I think everybody should have an emergency fund. What an emergency fund is that it's a fund that covers your monthly needs for a certain amount of months. And this is helpful just in case you unexpectedly lose your job, because we know this is life. Unexpected circumstances come up all the time. So it's just good to save up for these kinds of emergencies instead of waiting for the emergency to come and then trying to fix and finagle things in your budget to compensate for said expense. Also, having an emergency fund gives you peace of mind. So when you do start investing and say an investment fails, you're not really worried or have emotional ties to losing money. Maybe, you might, but it will be less of a blow because I do have money in the bank saved up for times like this. Typically start with having 1 month of your needs, or if you want to take it a step further, you can do 1 month of the income that you get and then work up to 3 months and then 6 months. I think 6 months is good personally, but if you want to save up more, of course, do what will give you peace of mind at the end of the day. Also, when you have an emergency fund, I highly recommend that you put it in a high yield savings account, because the more money that you save, the more money the bank will give you on interest. So then you're getting free money. And we all know we shouldn't be leaving free money on the table. So make sure it's a high yield savings account. When budgeting, I would also recommend that you try your best to live below your means. What this means is living in a way that you have money left over at the end of the month. It doesn't have to be anything glamorous like $1,000 or anything like that. If you can even have $25 or $50 left over at the end of the month, you're doing great. And then basically the money that you have left over can be utilized to push you forward towards the vision that you set out. So maybe you had a savings goal or an investing goal. That money left over can also be money on top of what you have already planned to save and invest for that month to push you even more towards the vision that you have for your money. If you get paid semi-monthly like me, I also recommend that when you are budgeting, that you budget on the least amount of money you expect to get paid, just because it fluctuates month to month. So you want to make sure that even if it's one of those lower paychecks, that you're still able to cover all your expenses and achieve all your goals and stuff like that. When it comes to savings accounts outside of your emergency fund, this is really going to come down to your personal preference. I go by the KISS method, i.e. keep it simple, stupid. Outside of my emergency fund, I have a short-term high yield savings account and then a long-term high yield savings account. My short-term is basically my fund money account. I use this if I see a nice necklace. I also do my annual subscriptions and my car insurance. I plan for that, so that goes into my short-term account, as well as holidays, so Christmas gifts I save up for throughout the year, and birthdays. Since they come every year, I save up for all those in my short term, so I'm not like annihilating my budget when these things come around. Mother's Day, Father's Day, all those holidays. I also use my short-term account if I need a new phone or a new laptop. My long-term are for things that I see myself needing in the next 5 to 7 years. So I know I'm going to eventually need a new car, so I'm saving up for that. You can also do your home down payment in this account if you would like. If you are expecting a new baby or preparing for a wedding, those things can be put into long-term savings account. However, I do know some people who like having separate savings accounts for each thing. Some people want a separate savings account for their wedding or a separate savings account for their car. That's why I say it really just depends on your preference. So I'm fine with like just keeping all my long-term stuff in one account. But say if I were to get engaged tomorrow or something, then I would probably create a separate savings account for the wedding, since I know that it's like coming up. So about a year or two ago, I was living below my means, and I was able to have about $25 to $50 a month left over. And this was really helpful for me because at the time I was really focused on just building out my emergency fund. But I knew eventually I wanted to have a long-term and a short-term savings account. So what I did was I would use that $50 that I had at the end of the month, and I would split it in half, and I would put $25 in my long term and $25 in my short term. And at the time I was like, girl, this is just $25. Like, what are we doing? But at the end of the year, I think I was able to save like maybe $300 to $400. I had like a bonus that year as well, so some of that went into those accounts. But these were two accounts I wasn't expecting to build out that year, but I was already had a head start on it because I was able to live below my means. And now when those accounts were built out to a number that I was satisfied with, now living below my means, I can now use that money towards my investment account. Don't sweat small beginnings. Whether you're saving $25, $15, $10, $50, or $100 a month, I promise you it will add up if you stay consistent. That's the power of compound interest. Over time, your money starts making money, and then that money starts making money as well. So that's why it's really important, and why I'm really emphasizing consistency, because consistent habits will lead to big gains later if you stay consistent. It'll create this big snowball effect later in life, and you realize, wow, that $25 actually was really doing something. Remember, building something takes time, and it also takes consistency. So little by little, it starts getting higher and higher and higher. Thank you all. And that wraps up today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I hope you gained some good financial tips. I don't know how we do on this side of the internet. If this blessed you, make sure you share it with someone else, as well as like, comment, and subscribe for more empowering content. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.